The other day, Disneyland News Today reported a rumor that the Haunted Mansion, the original Haunted Mansion, that Haunted Mansion would not be available again to guests until 2025. That is to say, we wouldn't be seeing any Haunted Mansion for the entirety of the year 2024. This actually got my head spinning trying to figure out why this might be, and the answer is actually quite simple and quite logical. Last August, Disney announced that they were going to embark on an aggressive remodeling of both the exterior queue at the Haunted Mansion and also the common area in between the Haunted Mansion and Tiana's Palace, where the fountain is. Half of that space is to become part of an expanded Haunted Mansion queue. Up until now, we had been trying to decode when this project would start, how long it might last, and what effect it might have on the actual attraction. Now, with this rumor and with a little bit of logical thought, I believe we have the answer to all three of those questions. And that answer starts with the end of the holiday season. This year, that will officially be on January 7th. In the past, this would be the point where Disney closes the Haunted Mansion for 2 weeks while they take down the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay and restore the original Haunted Mansion. And if we are doing the math under normal conditions, if it closes on the 8th, we would expect the Haunted Mansion to return, the regular Haunted Mansion, on January 21st, normally. But looking at the refurb calendar, we can see that on January 8th, it's still open. It should be closed on that day. And it's not on the calendar the next week, January 15th either. In fact, guests will be able to enjoy the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay for a full 2 weeks longer than they normally would, with the attraction finally hitting the refurb calendar on January 22nd. Meanwhile, we know also that Disney's starting its Halloween season in 2024 a full week earlier than this year, 2 weeks earlier than they did the year before that. And when that news broke, it had us all wondering, why? Why would they do this? Because it means we're going to get even less regular, less original Haunted Mansion than we normally would. But now that picture is considerably more clear. Where we thought we were going to be getting less Haunted Mansion than before, we are now going to be getting no Haunted Mansion at all for 2024. Now, mind you, none of this has been confirmed by Disney. They haven't said anything to this effect so far. But I think it's all too clear that that is exactly what's going to happen in the coming year. The Nightmare Before Christmas overlay is staying up 2 weeks longer than it normally would, and starting a week earlier than usual, than when the Halloween season arrives. And Disney is doing this because they can, because they have no intention of bringing back the original Haunted Mansion. They have no intention of actually taking down the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay. I believe it's going to stay up the entire year until the Halloween season starts again. It's going to stay there. They're going to take it down finally, as we opened, in January of 2025. So, why? Well, actually, there's two scenarios. One, it will take exactly that long, 7 months, for Disney to do whatever it is they're doing with the exterior queue and the expanded space, and the attraction itself will be closed for that entire time. Or it will take some amount of time less than that 7 months. Let's just say, for argument's sake, it'll take 4 months, leaving Disney with the choice of what to do with that attraction for the remaining 3 months of that point between January and August. Actually, now that I think about it, that's not 3 months, 2 months, because it takes 2 weeks to take it down and put up the new skin, and then it takes another 2 weeks to do the same thing in reverse. So you got 4 weeks total of closure, leaving you with just 2 months of original Haunted Mansion. And now we're beginning to see why. We're beginning to see why I 100% believe that they will not make that choice. They're not going to take it down and put it back up again just for 2 months. They're just going to leave it up. They're just going to leave the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay up. And why we won't be seeing original Haunted Mansion until January of 2025. Because why even bother? So I guess that still leaves the question, though, the original question that we asked in this little scenario. Will it take 7 months or something less than that? And if let's say it takes 5 months to do this refurb, would they open the Haunted Mansion with the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay for those 2 months prior? Would they open the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay in June? I mean, that's kind of a non-starter for me. I don't think I or anybody else wants to see the Nightmare Before Christmas in June. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe they want an active attraction happening. We're going to get into one reason why that might be in just a minute. But I would rather just have them keep it closed for that entire period, for the entire 7 months. Take that time to make a really awesome queue expansion. Don't rush it like they did with Toontown or San Francisco. Do it right the first time so it stays open. And while you're at it, use that time to make the ride itself more reliable. Not that there were a lot of technical issues with the ride, but it's pretty reliable in my opinion. But still, just make it the best it can be. Wouldn't it be great to just have one super pristine, polished attraction in the park that works every single day? Wouldn't that be awesome? We can only dream. Okay, one other thing that I want to talk about. This is an interesting little conversation. This project is going to be happening at the same time that the attraction right next door is going through its own very lengthy refurb process. As a matter of fact, the entire time that the Haunted Mansion is closed, so too will be Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Two attractions right next to each other will probably be closed at the same time for about 7 months. And that is that is wild. Can you imagine? Two huge attractions that occupy a large amount of space in that part of the park, both closed for 7 months. And I illustrate this point. I bring that up here not to, complain or anything like that, but to illustrate how necessary it must have been for Disney to do this. Absolutely unavoidable. If this were just about Disney deciding that they wanted to make an aesthetic choice to the Haunted Mansion, they wanted to make an aesthetic choice about the queue or put in a new gift shop, if it were just about that, they would have easily waited. They would have deferred. They would have waited until Tiana's was done and then start the Haunted Mansion project. This is a compliance issue having to do with modern building codes, specifically as they have to do with ADA compliance. They don't have a choice, and I'd be willing to bet that they actually tried to put this off as long as they could, but finally it came to the point where they had to do it. They were running out of time, and here we are. And I also believe that what it is that they have to do in order to comply with the ADA codes is so invasive to the structure, to the Haunted Mansion queue, into the Haunted Mansion attraction, so invasive that Disney decided, well, what the heck? Why don't we just go ahead and make the queue and everything else better while we're at it? If you believe that this concept art is better than it was before. That's up for debate. I kind of like it myself. We'll see when it's done. While we're here, though, let's talk about what that ADA process is as it stands today. Guests who need ADA assistance, once they finish the stretching room, are escorted through the portrait hall on the other side of that velvet rope along the where the windows are with the rainstorms. They then collect in that waiting area and board their doom buggies just ahead of where standby guests board. They make a full round trip. They do not exit where standby guests do. They keep going. Where you and I get off, they keep going through that exit ramp, then deboard their doom buggies at the same place that they started. Then they go back through the portrait hall against the grain, back into the stretching room, and they go up instead of down in order to exit the attraction. It's kind of wild. It's really amazing when you watch it happen. The footage you're seeing, this is the one chance that I've gotten to do this when I was with a disabled guest, and it's really an interesting sequence of events. And somewhere along this line is a lack of ADA compliance. Now, one of the rumors that I've heard is that ramp that you go up after you've deboarded your doom buggy, that ramp going up as you head outside the attraction, that is the area where there is ADA compliance needed. And it makes sense because what other reason could there be to have those ADA guests keep going? You could easily stop the attraction, stop the doom buggies right there in the same place that standby guests get off. It must mean that they can't have those guests, the ADA guests, go up that ramp with little Leota. And it also, as it turns out, jives with the other thing that Disney's doing with the Haunted Mansion, and that is building that new gift shop right there where they're doing whatever it is that they're probably going to be doing with that ramp, the exit ramp at Haunted Mansion. Perhaps whatever it is that they're doing to that exit ramp has caused some very disruptive and visible changes to the guest experience. And perhaps the gift shop is not just an excuse for Disney to sell more merch, but is a means to hide whatever it is that they have to do to that exit ramp. Because we definitely didn't need a gift shop there. That's something that I observed almost immediately. There's no point in that. As a matter of fact, opening that gift shop makes the other gift shop in Haunted Mansion kind of redundant and unnecessary. Whereas the gift shop that they are building it feels super out of place. It feels awkward. It feels wedged in. It looks like, in that concept art, like it doesn't belong there. looks weird, oddly placed. It's just awkward. And that's where the real fun begins for you and I, Fresh Baked, because in about a month, we're going to be able to board the Columbia, and then hopefully soon after that, the Mark Twain, board the Disneyland Railroad, and start putting eyes on whatever it is that they're doing at the Haunted Mansion in January. I love this phase. And the first thing that I'm going to be looking for is seeing if and when they remove the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay theming elements on the exterior of the attraction. I want to see if they take those down, how quickly they do. Because if we go a few days on January 23rd, 24th, 25th rolls around and that stuff is still up there, then we know that that's exactly what's going to happen. So stay tuned to Fresh Baked. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch how this goes. Stay tuned to Fresh Baked. And then follow us on Instagram at _Fresh Baked, on Twitter at Fresh Baked Disney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at Fresh Baked Disney. If you like our show and want to show you support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And Fresh Baked.